to talk about is, you know, I live in a van down by the river. I moved away from the river, and I sold the van. But you know, when I was a wee lad, I had a speech impediment. I was a C- student, and that's probably optimistic. I was probably more of a D+. I didn't have any ambition. I was a procrastinator. I was afraid of my own shadow. I was picked for every team I was ever on, except for dodgeball. Weird. Anyway. Okay. And I was on the football team, but I was really more of a tackling dummy between Mondays and Thursdays. But I just was such a struggle, and I was so unhappy. We moved 6 times before 5th grade, and so it was just a constant struggle, and I hated it. And so I went off to the University of Rhode Island, and I majored in beer, and the attempt to go on a date. And I did well in one, not so good in the other. But what I discovered was it was exercise, really for the first time. Above and beyond what I did when I was a pretend football player. Took a weightlifting class, and the neat thing about the teacher, the coach, was that he was just cool. He was funny, and he was smart, he was nice, and he showed me how to modify a movement so that I wouldn't be discouraged or hurt and bored or whatever it was. And so I really, really admired his techniques. And I was always a bit of a clown, so that was sort of inherent in who I was. But I really liked the fact that this guy could take me to the next level in the course of a semester, from a skinny little pudgy dude to somebody who had biceps for the first time and pecs and everything else. So for me at that early stage, it wasn't about the diet at all. It wasn't about the food, didn't care about the food. I was a college student, so I just ate whatever. Hot dogs, burgers, pizza, you know, Egg McMuffins, whatever I could eat to survive. I didn't understand that food was really the ultimate critical piece to the whole puzzle. But I did, you know, because I was young and I had a pretty good metabolism, I managed to get in pretty good shape. And that helped me go on dates. But it didn't really have to do much, it didn't have much to do with my character or my knowledge of health and wellness. I just knew that when I lifted and I changed physically, I also changed mentally and emotionally. So then I moved out to California in 1980. Who was alive in 1980, Richard? A lot of older people here. Who was not alive in 1980? A lot of young people. It's all good. So I went out there and I was just sort of surviving, and you know, I didn't really have a job. I was, you know, a carpenter and a handyman, and I was a go-go dancer at Chippendales. Look out, Sean, you got nothing on me. Anyway, so I joined the gym because I sort of got out of shape again, and it was World Gym in Venice, and I was hanging out with, I was sort of spying on Lou Ferrigno and Arnold Schwarzenegger and stealing all their ideas. But then there was also this other gym that was an aerobic gym, and that's where all the girls were. So I'd be like, why am I the only dude in here? Fellas, I'm telling you, man, this is the place to be. What's your name? But what I was doing in the early days, unbeknownst to me at the time, was that I was adding a lot of variety to my fitness. I just understood that exercise sucks. I mean, it really does. I mean, what you're about to do with me is going to suck. It's going to be hard, weird, new, and painful, and awkward. You're going to have to modify, and then your ego's going to get messed with, because when you were younger, you could do it, but now you can't, and all that. But if you add a little humor, you add modifications, you show up anyway, life turns out to be a whole lot better than it does if you don't. And yes, thank you. And that's why we're all here. That's why we have stuffed ourselves. 800 people that were supposed to be here. I don't know how we're all going to work out. We're going to, like 18 people are going to leave here with black and blue marks. Or married, I'm not sure. Or engaged or something. But we all understand as a group of people who are fans of Beachbody, when we do at Beachbody, that there's a message here that is real, that is authentic, that is useful, that changes your life for the better, because we all struggle, and struggle is the place that really helps you kind of get to the next place. We're not afraid to struggle. We're not afraid to modify. We're not afraid to learn. We're not afraid to be patient. We're not afraid to ask questions. Because we know that if we do those hard things, then everything else will get better. And I'm a perfect example of that. It's weird that I'm happy almost 90% of the time when I was sad, depressed, anxious, and freaked out 90% of the time through my teens, 20s, 30s, and even earlier than that when I was a wee lad. And that's what exercise and good food will do. So, anyway, to make a long story good. I was doing my thing, and I was training my boss, and my boss introduced me to a guy by the name of Tom Petty, and then Tom Petty called me up. Oh, I tell you, it's Tom Petty. My roommate picked up the phone. My roommate said, dude, somebody says to Tom, hang on, it's not Tom Petty. Click. Ring hot. You hung up on me. My name is Tom Petty. Who does not know who Tom Petty is? Just curious. Good. All right. And so, I was just a guy kind of driving all over town, training with some friends and some executive types and lawyers and whatever, and getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning and then living on power bars and coming home at 9 o'clock at night. And it was a pretty good life. It beat the heck out of being a pantomime at the pier or a go-go dancer or whatever the heck I was doing, or plumbing or carpentry. It was really sort of my passion. I was also trying to be an actor at that time, so I was doing improv classes and stand-up comedy and going to acting classes and going on auditions. I'd walk into a room and there'd be like 50 other guys that looked exactly like me. Oh, God. Oh, is that you, Chuck? I thought, no, you look like a friend of mine. I digress. So the acting thing, I got a couple of commercials and I did some small parts in movies, but it was really fun to start the day with Tom Petty and then go to Annie Lennox's house for the Eurythmics, and then I would go to Billy Idol's house. Right, Nick, quick, we got to show you some triceps today. Oh, I could do 2 hours on Billy Idol alone, man. Open up the door, naked girl, okay, that's Billy came down the hallway. There are kids in the room. But yeah, and then Stevie Stills and Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young and Sean Connery. Some rings don't pay out for and Shirley MacLaine, you got to be really old to know that. Thank you, yeah, baby. And Ewan McGregor and Usher and all kinds of neat people. So it was a pretty good life. But I was only working with one person at a time, as opposed to 800 people at a time. So just to kind of finish up, and one of the things that doesn't get talked about very often, and the reason why we have a healthcare crisis is because we can't control these and that. Our hands and our God. Our hands and our God. See, we control this. Our parents don't feed us anymore. We feed ourselves. So every morsel matters. And so one of the big changes that I made later on in life was making dietary shifts that were uncomfortable, that made me anxious and freaked out and yearning for the fat, sugar, and salt that I grew up with. Because, if you opened up our cabinet above our stove, as a kid, it was every sugary cereal known to man above that stove, and that's it's the Old Spice man. Is that somebody's phone? I like that. So, much later into my fitness career, I started doing, we're going for time, and then we got time for like one question. But I just started cutting some things out, just less chemicals, less salt, less manufactured food, less things that came out of a bag or a box or a can or a bottle, except for Shakeology and the Boost program. Not all manufactured foods are created equal, of course. Not all bread is created equal. Not all meat is created equal. It's just there's different versions of everything, and some things are more healthy than others. I went through a vegan stage. I went through a flexitarian stage. I went through a vegetarian stage. I thought I'd eat raw. That lasted about 3 days. You know what I mean? But I was just trying to, experiment. And now I just eat everything. I eat everything. I eat paleo meals and vegan meals and flexitarian meals and every kind of meal. I just make sure that I look down at my plate, I recognize what I'm eating, that I can pronounce what I'm eating. And I wonder if my great-great-great-grandparents would recognize what I'm eating. And if it's Red Bull and Doritos, no. My great-great-grandmother didn't know what that was. So the dietary shift that I just made, which is the hardest one I've ever done, and it's only about a month ago, is I cut out the sugar. Because I love the sugar. I love the cookies and the key lime pies and the mousse that chocolate mousse. Come on now, but I was noticing that I was sort of plateauing. I was hitting a wall. Things were kind of easy. I was having some joint pain, and I was having some energy issues, and some of the things were happening that I just didn't like. And so I kept on reading and researching. I was talking to some of my friends who are Olympians, and sugar is really about a couple of things. I mean, it's about a lot of things, but it's very addictive. It's about as addictive as cocaine. I mean, just the way it taps into your temporal lobe and it dumps that dopamine. It's just that satisfaction of a hot, out of the oven chocolate chip cookie. Come on! Do not make me stop eating that. But then I thought, well, let's give it a week. And here's how I would walk up to my refrigerator while I was my refrigerator and my pantry next to each other. So, it's after dinner, and this is my sugar hour, right? So, where's my dessert? Where's my cookies? Where's my key lime pie? Where's my big old, gluten-free mousse? Like that matters, So I open up the fridge and I go, son of a... And then Shauna, my fiance, bought this bag of these ridiculous, big, round, crunchy, chocolatey cookies like the day before I started this thing. And 5 weeks later, they're still up there! And I'm the most miserable son of a bitch. But I'm going to tell you, man, the first 3 weeks were brutal. But I don't want to feed the cancer cells anymore. I don't want the inflammation in my joints and in my organs anymore. I don't want to feed that aging process. And I know that if I continue to do it, then that's what's going to happen. I mean, I'm 57 about a month ago. Supreme Court said, it's okay. I'm in trouble now. But the point of this little speech is you are involved with an organization that gets it, that gives you a variety of different ways to get, from body, beast to size. Holy crap, what kind of spectrum is that? Right? It's everything, it really is everything. I prefer my stuff more. But what I try to do in all my programs, and those of you who know me, is there's yoga in my stuff, there's Pilates in my stuff, there's resistance in my stuff, there's core in my stuff, there's post-activation potentiation in my stuff, there's everything that you can imagine, because it's boredom, injuries, and plateaus that gets most of us from being able to continue with this process into your 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. I want to be in a room like this 20 years from now where I can count the 80-year-olds in here who are kicking ass. There's a couple of 50-year-olds, but it's sort of an anomaly, right? It really is. It's not part of who they were when they were growing up. The only people really in the 50s, 60s, and 70s that were fit were athletes. Everybody else watched. But that's not the case anymore, because we all know better. We all know that there's something for us. There's a way to do this. There's certain disciplines that we have to adhere to so that we can go to the next level. Not only look good in the mirror, not only for our ego, not only so our friends and family can say, geez, you look great, not only for the after pictures, that's just all the aesthetic stuff that helps us sell more P90X and X203 and Insanity and size and everything else. But it really comes down to you and your own skin all by yourself and how you feel on that skin. And that is about you. That's about your health and your wellness.